Hello everybody, it's on and it's time for another episode of Booking SWF. Okay, good news is we haven't had our TV show canceled, so I'm pretty sure in the mail we are going to have our broadcaster be unhappy, but that's fine. We can potentially turn this around here. Next up is going to be our big event. I officially went ahead and made Phil Vibert one of my commentators for events. Really, it's because Anna Garcia, Damian Carville, they do not have good chemistry, and everybody who I tried to put onto my second TV show just didn't work well together. So there it is. This is the commentary lineup for all of my TV. And our next show is our event coming up, and we're not really competing against anything huge. The next day is the Super Bowl apparently, but I think we hopefully are ready for a good show. Let's just see what the mail has to say. Okay, James Prudence contract ending, and then I think we have he's RIPW, Zap Powerson strained wrist. I can give him time off, but strained wrist doesn't look like it's serious enough for me to really give him any time off. He has more momentum right now. I don't think this injury will get worse or affect him too much, so I'm just going to leave as is. All right, so now there's only for James Prudence 30 days left in his contract, and let me take a good look at him and see what I might want to do. All right, James Prudence is a long-time-ish SWF worker. In terms of his skills, I mean, there's a lot of orange here, but he's in mostly the 70s with all of his physical stats. He is considered to be in very good physical health, apparently, and there's not a big impact on his performance, so it's not like the best worker. But I think the thing that makes me want to keep him on the roster is his charisma and microphone. I think one thing that I could do with him is I can see if I can make him a manager, maybe commentary, but something along those lines, and kind of transition him into a part-time wrestler, manager, and carry on his career that way. I had an idea for a new stable, and I was thinking that he would be part of it, so it makes sense for me to keep him on board and then maybe like transition into a role where he's managing the members of that stable or other workers who don't have as good of charisma and microphone skills. So I do think I'm going to negotiate with him. I want to take a look at a couple of things first. All right, so James Prudence is right here in terms of his pay. That's in the, well, I guess that's very mid-card, but I don't think I want him to, just in comparing who else I have on the roster, he's making more than Steven Parker, who has a good year plus on his contract, and yeah, I do think he can turn into a star probably within that time. But I don't think I want to pay him more than, say, like High Flying Hawaiian, who is going to get himself a new contract in less than a year, right? I don't want to eat up too much room in the budget and not be able to sign a guy like High Flying Hawaiian, who has, I think, probably much more upside than James Prudence. It really is going to come down to what he's asking for. Let's just see what he's said to be worth. All right, he's valued at under 4,000, so I think I'm going to just give him what he is valued at. Now, I do want to look at what is his current contract. All right, he's getting 30% of merchandise. Maybe I'd be okay with increasing that before I went up to, say, like 24,000 a month. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and give him what his value is. No bonuses, whatever's needed. Standard contract here. I think like basically just renewing the contract with a slight raise is a good move here. So let's see what he says when I make him this offer. All right, so we know Joanne Rodriguez, who is a commentator and personality. Her gimmick is awful, and the thing with her gimmick right now is it's too soon to consider changing her gimmick. It's not going to be part of a turn, so I think I'm just going to tweak the gimmick and hope that it gets better. So we'll see how that works out. Sammy Smoke also has a poor gimmick. I think I'm going to tweak his gimmick also just to see if it gets better, but we might prepare a gimmick change depending on if I add him to the potential stable that I'll build. So let's tweak it. All right, this is the last tweak we have, so that's fine. Like I said, either it'll get better or it won't. And now we're just about ready to go to the next day and put our event together. We're gonna go for show history and just see. We're in the Midwest here, Northwest, Southwest, Mid-South. I think we're gonna go back to Southwest for this event. Southwest has a 100 potential fan base, which means more people come to those shows. Also, there's quite a bit of spillover in multiple regions, even Mexico, where we're trying to build our popularity. So I think Southwest is where we're going to hold this particular event. All right, so we had our child company hold their event. You know, nothing too crazy. Didn't look like any titles changed hands, all of that. But at some point, I think I do want to review my popularity and just the skills that some of these workers have. I may be promoting some of those workers. We'll see how things work out. Now, one thing I haven't really decided is who exactly is going to win the matches that are scheduled for the event, because I want to do it based on popularity. I don't want to like kill someone's popularity and or momentum. So I think what I'm going to do is figure out who I want to win certain matches, explain that now before we start booking the show. All right, so first off, my main event is going to be a world title match between Rocky Golden and Remo. And initially I was going to have Remo win and then at the next event face Jack Bruce for the title. But Jack Bruce is the most popular wrestler in the world, and I don't think he will be okay losing a title match when we get there. I don't see him getting another shot at actually being the world champion. I mean, he's almost 50. He's an occasional wrestler. He won't wrestle on TV. My main role for him, I think, is going to be as a personality. So I want to re-sign him once we get to his final appearances, and I want to sign him full time. But the point is, Rocky Golden is just more popular than Remo at this point. And Rocky Golden is our franchise worker, right? He is the franchise wrestler, and I don't think I want to take the belt off of him right now. Additionally, if we look at the World Heavyweight title and where the history is, even though I do think I've decided that Scythe is going to lose his match, he just kind of has to. But something's going to happen there that's going to continue a little bit of a rivalry with Valiant. But between Valiant, Rogue, Rocky Golden, Scythe, they're the last 4 title holders. And I think I can work with that into a month-long story and get Scythe to be the next challenger against Rocky Golden, have Remo face off against Jack Bruce, and nothing will be lost by keeping the belt on Rocky Golden. I mean, his last title run was 455 days. He's only at 338 right now. He's still under a year. So I think right now he just keeps the title. Rocky Golden is going to be our champion still. Next, this storyline between Mikey Lau and Randy Unleashed, it's really going to ramp up here. I basically pushed having these guys face each other out for a month to delay really building this story. And I think what it's going to be is a series of matches, maybe 3, maybe 4. It depends. They're probably not going to really face each other except for the next few events. Right now, in terms of story, Randy Unleashed is doing fairly good. Mikey Lau is doing fairly poor. Just that alone makes me decide that Mikey Lau is going to win this next match so that there's a more even playing field between the two of them. So that takes care of the match between these two, the 2 out of 3 falls, and I think I know how I want to set up the story of that match, but essentially Mikey Lau has to win in order to keep this storyline interesting. So this storyline will survive past this event. Now for the tag team titles, I know who is going to win, but let me just explain how we get there. Now these two have not actually had the belts for very long. 121 days, only 4 title defenses, and I've booked 2 of them. So yeah, by all accounts, they really haven't held the belts for that long, but I'm not too worried about it. I have different things that I want them to do, and I think that the story really should revolve around the 2 opponents they'll have in the match. So those opponents are Faith and Old Glory and the Awesomeness. You know, we could see that the Awesomeness have won the tag team titles twice, Faith and Old Glory just once. And I think we can build a rivalry between both of these teams. Really what it comes down to is the popularity of Huey Cannonball and Jefferson Stardust in North America is just a lot greater than Mass Patriot and Maddie Faith. So again, I'm just doing it based on popularity. I'm going to have the most popular workers win the match in this event, and then we're going to continue the story from there and see how things evolve. Other than that, the match winners are going to be determined based on what is the story I'm going to tell. So in order to book the show, I've got to go to the evening portion of the day. So let's do that and get this show put together. All right, no one gets the night off. Now it's time to select the venue, and I'm not going to use New England. Nope. We are going to go to Southwest, as I said, and that puts us at more than 35,000 fans. So yeah, that's where I want to be. All right, let's get some better venues. Or we'll search between 30 and 40,000 people, and let's see, we have Fresno, Long Beach, Nevada, Sacramento, Tucson. All right, okay, we're not going to have more than 40,000 fans, so there's no reason to book a venue that's larger than that. Everything is 30,000 capacity and $80,000. So let's look at importance. Tucson, Sacramento. There's no hotbed. Let's just say Long Beach, because why not? Long Beach, California, near Hollywood. I like it. All right, let's select this location. Let's finalize the broadcasters here. We're going to be shown in Mexico, United States, Canada. That's good. All right, so let's use the selection. All right, booking team meeting. All right, let's check out our stored ideas. We have 2 creative finishes that I can use. So let's see if we can get one. A bit of a gamble, and it's specifically for Randy Unleashed. You know, maybe I use this if I find that I have a lesser match that Randy Unleashed is going to win, just in case. I'll keep a bit of a gamble here. But now I still only have 2 creative finishes. I think I want to have a third, and I'm not going to worry too much about the angle idea. So let's go ahead and hit creative finish. Okay, a Rocky Golden creative finish, likely to succeed. I do believe this will get used tonight. All right, that's all I have the creative energy for, so we got what we got. Locker room incidents. Lenny Brown has an idea for a creative finish. Okay, not sure if that'll be any good. They're usually not. Oh, Mainstream Hernandez and Anna Garcia are dating. Interesting. And that's it. Now it's time to address the locker room. We don't have an inspire. We could continue to meddle, and honestly, I think that's just what I'm going to do, is continue that metal between Joe Sexy and Des Davids. Yeah, we'll keep that going until we see some movement. Okay, it is time to book the show. Here are our 6 pre-booked matches. I think this will take us to our time limit, especially because the Randy Unleashed and Mikey Lau one, I do want it to be quite long, and we can definitely have some angles going on throughout the show to beef things up, maybe get a little bit more heat on the angles. Could lose heat too, I don't know. Okay, so it's time to book this event, and we're going right into pre-booking and starting with the main event as is tradition. Let's add to the booking sheet, and we got Remo versus Rocky Golden. First thing I'm going to do is add my special guest referee, and then the road agent. Who's the top one? Enforcer Roberts. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at their skill comparison and decide exactly how I want this to go. One thing that I can see is stamina isn't super great, so I might not have the match go exceptionally long. Rocky Golden seems to be a bit worse, but his psychology is really good, so I actually think that I might want to put in the note call and ring, and both have good enough consistency where I'm going to assume that the crowd heat will be good enough for a steal the show matching. Let's put the notes together and talk about exactly what the plan is. All right, so the plan is to have this main event be a steal the show match. Again, this is as long as the crowd is hot enough once we get there. Rocky Golden is going to win, and I am going to have him call the match in the ring. I say Rocky Golden because he does have much higher psychology, but I think because of that, he can do this and elevate the match a bit. We are going to have a slow build. I have that going on, and a clean finish. I thought about maybe having something happen where Jack Bruce interferes in a way, but how that happens is more of the creative finish where it's not direct interference. He might be in position or not in position to make a count. We are ignoring the ban on spinal impacts, and we are making sure that the storyline that both of these wrestlers are in ends, because they are going to move on to different storylines to build up to the next event. So that's what we have going on in the agent notes. Because it's a slow build, I'm going to make sure that we have 15 minutes of match time, but no more than that because Remo's stamina isn't great. So I'm going to keep it 15 minutes, even though it is the main event. So let's book this. And what would come before it? I actually think that's going to be the Valiant and Scythe match, but let me look quickly and see. Storylines, Mikey Lau and Randy Unleashed. That actually is a hotter storyline right now, so I think that's what I'm going to do. Now this is 2 out of 3 falls, so I'm going to have to put some notes about who wins what. I actually think the way this will go, based on the storyline, I want Mikey Lau to win. He's doing poorly, so I want to even things up significantly. And I think Randy Unleashed maybe gets the first win. Kind of make Randy Unleash's downfall in this match be his hubris, challenging Mikey Lau to have to win twice. I am going to compare skills here. And in terms of psychology, I don't think either have enough psychology to call the match in the ring. They do have great stamina though, so I do plan on this being a rather long match. Actually, I think what I'll do is make this a storytelling match, mostly because I want to have it go for a long time, but also they're going to have a series of matches. So I think I can make this close to 30 minutes, if not make it 30 minutes. The victor is going to be Mikey Lau, so let's just add that in. Match aim is going to be storytelling. I'm going to also put in slow build. Exact finish is going to be flash pinfall, but this is exactly what I'm looking for. 2-1 comeback scoreline, winner having lost the first fall. So that is exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't have no reason to have anyone come in, interfere at ringside either. And I don't think I'm going to make a creative finish here, but I will allow spinal impact moves. I will ensure that the storyline advances. I do want to check if either are good with stunt bumps. Yeah, Unleashed is Mikey Lau a stunt bump type of guy? No, but that's okay. I do think I'll have Randy Unleashed take a stunt bump because it could be part of the match's story where Randy Unleashed, maybe he does a high risk move that doesn't land and that sets him on the path to losing the last 2 falls. And that is it. Who do we have? Okay, Enforcer Roberts, Darren Smith. This will probably be the only match that Shane Stones referees because it's so long. 30 minutes might actually make it longer, I don't know, but it depends on how everything else shakes out in terms of time. So let's just book this and move on. This title match, I really don't think it's going to be a good match because Primus Allen is injured. So let's say that we put it third to last. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I want to do here. One is to protect Primus Allen, who has a bruised rib injury. And then the other is to get a really good rating. So I do think that we can get 18 minutes out of this match. I'm going to have it be a storytelling match, and I'm also going to have a slow build. Those two things should suppress the rating, but a couple of things that I hope help boost the rating here is to have the match called in the ring. Both of these workers have really good in-ring psychology, so I'm hoping that they can call the match together and get a better rating than they would if it was a scripted match. The other thing is the creative finish here, and it is supposed to be like the way that I imagine that the match would finish, a creative finish, but we did establish that this was a match where the title could change hands with a disqualification. Now for posterity, I added that note that the title can change hands for DQ, even though the title won't change because Hollywood Star wins, but he wins because Spencer Spade basically saves him by interfering against Hollywood Bret Starr. So based on these road agent notes, the time frame, and then the staff that I have working the match, I'm hoping that we have a solid, quality, highly rated match here, even though I am trying to protect Primus Allen. Another thing that I didn't add, by the way, was the Spinal Impact note. That ban still exists for this match because I'm worried about Primus Allen getting injured further. So let's book this. Okay, so from what's remaining, the next hottest storyline is just barely Valiant's story. So I'm going to have that match next on the card. Let's go ahead and add this to the booking sheet. Now, this is a escape cage match, and Hannah is going to be ringside, basically there to be rescued, right? Whoever can escape the cage to pull Hannah away wins her. A little awkward for the setup and the stipulations, but that's what we're going for here. Let's see what these guys look like when we compare their skills. We don't have a lot of stamina between the two of them, so it's not going to be a particularly long match. We don't have great psychology either, so I think we are going to keep the match scripted. I actually don't even think I'm going to ask them to go all out, not really a steal the show type of thing. I don't think I want to change that even if we have a hot enough crowd, basically because I do want them to have maybe a longer than 15-minute match. This gives me 20 minutes of airtime with the cage. So let me put the agent notes in and then we'll talk about how the match will go down. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna keep the match aim as regular. Keep it scripted. Valiant wins. He escapes the cage. I am going to have this slow build note here, and I think I will have the match be at least 15 minutes, so it's appropriate. I might add more time depending on how much show I have left after all the pre-booked matches, but I did add Hannah to be at ringside because she's there in a different capacity than just being Valiant's manager. So I thought the note was appropriate, and I did take off the ban on Spinal Impact moves to help boost the rating, and I added that the storyline is due to advance. There will be an angle that also continues the storyline, but we'll get to that after I book the matches. So let's book this match. And I think I'm going to open the show with this 3-person match for the North American top contender. So let's go ahead and add our 3-team tag match. Now, this match, I didn't realize that the triple tag team match is actually an elimination match, but that's okay. It doesn't really interrupt my plans too much. The domination storyline is going to end. We're basically going to have a regular match here. I think what I'm going to do is put the match at 20 minutes. If I get a note that this is just too long, then I'll change it. But I don't think that that's the case, especially when we have the lowest stamina workers getting eliminated first. I imagine that factors in. So let's just make sure that the tag belts are on the line. Yep. And let's book this. We just have one more match, our, what did I call it? Triple Trouble? Triple Trouble top contender match. That's the last one we have to add. So let's add it to the booking sheet and book this up. I think the plan is to have Des Davids win this match, setting up a feud with him and Hollywood Star for the next event cycle. So let me set up how I want this match to go. This match is going to be regular because I do plan on opening the show with it. And then I'm going to keep it scripted. Looking at each of these workers' psychology, I wasn't super impressed to have a call-in ring note. So I'm just going to leave it scripted. Des Davids wins. Stephen Parker takes the pinfall. The actual finish is going to be Stephen Parker getting hit by Justin Sensitive. I'm thinking he gets hit with the belt. I have a creative finish in here. So the point is, like, Stephen Parker does accidentally get hit by Justin Sensitive. I don't know how creative that really is, but it's not the point. So I do think that all four of the two tag teams in both of the factions are going to brawl outside the ring, not necessarily getting interference in. There would be a spot where the two managers get into an argument distracting their particular wrestlers. That would also probably happen or give an opportunity for Des Davids to get attacked by Justice Jolson, who's part of the Supreme Dream Team faction. We're going to advance the storyline, which was going to end later in the show. We're not going to have Spinal Impact rule and 16 minutes of match time. That's the plan. Again, stamina, not super great to have a long match. These things might change, including the staff who's booked to work the match, depending on some of the alerts. But let me book the segment and see what those alerts are. We finished our pre-booking, and what does the analysis say? Okay, just that Primus Allen is wrestling with broken ribs. So let's not worry about that. We still have almost an hour that we could book, but I don't know if I'm actually going to take up all that time. I think I might keep it an hour and a half show. I do have some angles that I want to put in here, so let me do that, and then we'll talk about what the show's going to look like overall. Okay, so I've filled out the entire show and we're basically ready. Let's talk about the things to look out for before we get into gorilla position and start the show. So I need 3 quality matches for my overall show rating. And I'm not sure which will be the top 3, but if I had to guess, I would say our opening match, this 3-man match, the Valiant versus Scythe match, and maybe my main event, which I'm hoping to use a steal the show match aim if the crowd is hot enough. Now I might be surprised by this Randy Unleashed and Mikey Lau match. I don't have super high expectations. I'm actually hoping that this match is somewhere in the low 80s. That's why I put storytelling as the match aim. Now we have 180 minutes of show, plus I used the full hour of pre-show. So one thing I'm a little bit concerned of is having basically 240 minutes of show. And once you get to like 3 hours, and that includes pre-show, the crowd is in danger of getting exhausted. Fans can comfortably sit through 3.5 hours of wrestling. Longer than this, then penalties will begin happening. I actually arranged my segments to make sure the crowd doesn't get hot right away. And we'll see what happens. Like, this opening match might do the job, but I actually was going to open the show with the Rocky Gold and Remo Jack Bruce promos to build the main event, but I moved it up the card to kind of make sure that we have a really hot crowd for Valiant and Scythe. Hopefully that works out. The only other angle of note is this Rat Pack and Supreme Dream Team. It's going to bridge the fallout of the first match and the North American title match. Also, I'm hoping it sets up a brand new storyline and gets that rolling. More on that to come. Another angle that might be a mistake is announcing the Canadian title. One thing that I had to do was give Damian Carville and Phil Vibert gimmicks, because I think having them in an angle without a gimmick is probably going to result in a penalty. I think that might have hurt Damian Carville's ability to get decent ratings in interviewer or segment host roles that I've had him in recently, so hopefully we'll correct that. The only other warning that I have in booking analysis is Primus Allen's injury. He's going to wrestle this match, then I'm going to give him a few weeks off. I do kind of expect this match to have the lowest rating of the night. Really quickly with our pre-show, I basically borrowed from RIPW or hired local workers to lose matches to people who I want to build up for that Canadian title tournament that's coming up. None of these guys are really going to be pushed heavily with that tournament, but just to build them a little bit before it starts, I wanted them to have a win. Even if it's in the pre-show, it should help their momentum a little bit. All right, it's showtime and no reason to wait. Let's get through our 6 pre-show matches and see how the night goes. Not too bad. We had a 45. Good on the commentary here. Already got the gimmick going, and that's very good. Okay, that's 1 of 6. Let's see what our next pre-show match gives us. 43, not bad for a pre-show match. Again, these are just trying to get over our main roster guys, and Deaver Arnold had a 50 rating, so I do like that. All right, next match up. 47, that's pretty good. Forrest Ratzloff is a worker who I think has some potential, and we just need to get him a little bit more exposure, which I am planning to do. He'll be part of a pretty big story coming up after this event. So we're halfway through our pre-show matches. Let's check out the next one. Wow, a 50, and that's really good. I mean, Gary the Entertainer getting a 53, I'm happy with that. Baron Royal is in our system. He's an RIPW guy. 35, that's not too bad, especially since nobody really knows who he is on the main roster. So that's encouraging. All right, let's check out our next pre-show, and we have a 49. Not too bad. Getting, pretty similar ratings. Blue Dragon is a local worker, and that's fine. All right, here's our last pre-show match. Oh, 56 from Lenny Brown. That's really good. And a solid 35, I think, from G-Force, who also is someone who is RIPW and has a lot of potential. Let's just get into our first match. All right, guys and girls, we have a good start, and I think this is just what we were looking for. Now, some of the ratings here for the actual in-ring work, they look good. I would hope that Stephen Parker could get better than this, but he's working with better workers, so maybe he will improve there. Yes, all right. I do like what we have going on here. We did start a few storylines. Well, we started our Supreme Rat storyline, and that makes sense because of who is involved in this match. And we're just going to continue that storyline throughout the show. Rat Pack Ruckus is also advanced, and that's good. We're going to end the storyline later in the show, so I'm just hoping that it's at least at this 75 where it was previously and help the match rating, hopefully. 79 is a solid rating, especially for our first match of the night, and we are at a hot crowd, which is good. Don't want to be like very hot or white hot now, but having a hot crowd going into our next matches is thumbs up right there. That's great, and I don't think we're in too much danger of burning out the crowd before the main event, so I'm liking where we are there as well. So overall, good match here. We got a good rating. Creative finish was a success, so that's good. We're off to a strong start, so let's go ahead and just see what our next 2 segments have to offer. And this is a 69, nice but not great. And Rat Pack Ruckus lost a little heat, but hopefully we can get that back with the next segment before our next match. Having Justin Sensitive do comedy, it just always gets this. Yeah, Justin Sensitive had a bonus for comic relief. I think he's comic relief later. All right, cool. We also have a hot crowd, so not too bad. I'm not too worried about this angle. It's fine. I think we can make up for it with what's coming later. All right, the next segment is an angle, so let's check that out. 67, not great, and neither of these guys really did a good job. What I had tried to do was give them something that I thought would benefit their stats. So Mikey Lau has good momentum, pretty high popularity, so I did like a video package for him, and then I had cutting a promo for Randy Unleashed, but that didn't really work out. Their story lost heat. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have even done this, but it's fine. The crowd is white hot, actually, which kind of makes me a little bit nervous. Do I want to throw in a steal the show rating, maybe something different? I'm just going to keep the match at regular. I'm not going to overbook. I imagine the crowd heat will die a little bit with this match, but that's okay. Let's go ahead, start the next match, and see how it does ratings-wise. All right, 82. So I think I made the right call in just keeping it a regular match. I think each of these workers did their job in terms of what I expect their ratings to be. I mean, this storyline is about to end. It only advanced even though we got a very high rating in comparison to the 69 that it was, but that's okay. We did quite well. Yeah, with the second match of the night getting an 82, I am happy with that, especially when the rating did better than any particular individual rating. Is better than the wrestling, better than the crowd, better than any individual performance, and better than the storyline heat. So yeah, it just culminated into a really good match. We did good. Let's move forward and just see what the closing segment for this tag match looks like. All right, so this angle is pretty good. It's a 72. That might be the best angle of the night so far. And I didn't add Masked Patriot. That's fine. That's fine. But we're going to return to the booking screen quickly and just peek at what's next. Okay, so we have one of the big angles of the night. And then we have Valiant versus Scythe. So this is a big part of the show, not just with ratings, but also with building crowd heat towards the finish. So let's go ahead and see how this promo angle works out. These are like some of our top workers in the company, so I'm hoping it's quite good. Okay, 79. Now, I really do want to get into the 80s with this show, so this angle isn't like super great. Although we have a very hot crowd here for our next match. Yeah, at least we didn't lose heat on the storyline and we got a pretty decent rating, so I'm happy with that. Let's just move on and see how the match with Valiant and Scythe goes. 81. We cracked 80 with a segment. That's good. We're still very hot with the crowd. I think we can keep that rolling and hopefully not exhaust the crowd, right? We got good performances from both workers, so we're in a good place. Next is an angle that furthers the storyline. We've gained heat already with this. I'm hoping this next segment is good enough to maintain the heat at the very least and not lose it. Let's see what our next segment brings us. And a 78, that's pretty good, and we advanced without losing any heat. Yeah, overall, I think we did a good job with this one. I mean, we're not quite into the 80s, but just as far as setting things up for the future, I think everything is in line right here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. All right, let's go back to the booking screen and just see what's coming up next. All right, so we have this kind of elaborate angle. I'm hoping that it just gets good ratings and kind of sets up and advances the storyline that was started in the first match, maybe even raises the heat for the match that's going to come right afterwards. So let's see how that goes. We have an angle, a match, and another angle, which are all interrelated, so I think we're just going to go one right after the other. We're not changing anything in this match. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, a 71. That's not too bad, not great. I feel like the angles are probably bringing down our overall show rating. With the matches, I think we're in about 80 with the matches. So I do need to get some of these angles to be better. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it's fine. We did have an angle idea that I was able to slip in there, and that was a success. So, not really too worried about that. Again, Justin Sensitive with his comic relief is looking good. And Kristen Pierce performed poorly. I wonder if I could figure out why. Not sure what the penalty was for, but no problem. All right, it's time to see how this match goes. 75. Overall, I think this was a success. Creative finish was a success. That's good. Kind of wish Hollywood Bret Starr would have had a better performance here, but that's okay. Not a surprise with Primus Allen because he is injured, but he wasn't injured in a more serious way, so that's good. He's going to get his time off to heal. We had a decent match, but it ends up being a throwaway match. Probably going to be the worst match of the night, which is kind of what I expected, but that's okay. We had a solid showing here from both of our workers. Let's go ahead and see what this next angle brings us. And it's a 69. Nice, but not what we were looking for. that's it. We ended the Rat Pack storyline. I think at this point we basically have a tense agreement between these two almost co-leaders of the stable, but this was all right. I don't know if there was some kind of penalty or what. It is what it is. Again, I'm worried the angles are going to kind of drag down the overall rating, but we still have some show to work with. The crowd is very hot, that's good, but there isn't going to be a change in how we have our next match booked. It really just comes down to what the next angle is going to give us in terms of rating. I'm a little nervous about that one, but I don't know. I feel like it can't be as bad as any of the other ones that we've had so far. I say that now, we'll see what happens. And this one is kind of what I expected. I really didn't have my hopes up for this one. What's surprising is that, Mikey Lau seemed off his game. I mean, I wonder if it's because he hasn't worked a lot recently. I don't know. Let's see if we penalize for holding back. This was meant to be a storytelling match, so maybe that's what hurt Mikey Lau. And long term, a 77 is a solid rating, and that only gives us more room for better ratings when these two face each other again, because this really isn't meant to be their last match. So let's see how the rest of the show goes. We have an angle coming up next, so we might as well just roll right into it. We got to be looking at the crowd heat. We're very hot now, and we just want to stay there in order to have the right kind of match aim for our main event. 59, that's a stinker. And Chill underperformed, basically just standing there. I think he had a non-speaking appearance. I don't know if I can see what the role was. That's kind of okay. I mean, a 59 is pretty decent to kick things off. It's going to give us some room to increase the heat throughout the story. Let's just go back to the booking screen and be prepared for our closing segments. We do have a very hot crowd, so I do think that utilizing Steal the Show as the match aim here is a good choice. And we also have a creative finish thrown in there, slow build, and the story is pretty hot. So I think we're in good shape to close things out. If, just before we get to the main event, essentially, angles haven't been great. They haven't broke 80, but I do have two solid matches at an 82 and an 81. So as long as this match gets in the 80s and there's potential for these angles to get that high as well, I could be looking at an 80 plus rated show overall. It really just depends on how these last three angles go. It really comes down to the main event. So let's go ahead and continue the show. All right, so we lost a little heat on the story, but I still think that means it's a hot story. 75 rating, not in the 80s like I would have hoped, but it's all right enough. The crowd is very hot, so I don't need to go back and change my match aim. Let's go ahead and see how this match goes ratings wise. That's really good. I see a penalty here for lack of selling. I mean, neither of these guys can sell, but that's okay. It's part of what they do, and clearly it worked because we got an 87, a blue number. That's really good. The creative finish was a success. That's awesome. And before I move on, there's something very important that I have to do that I think should work, but I do intend to and need to try it because we did end the World Title Trouble storyline. All right, so I have to officially end the storyline here, which is fine. I already got my ratings and I wanted it to end, but I want to add a storyline where two of the people involved in this match are major characters. The biggest reason is twofold. One, if that can be a hot story right away, that will ensure that I have 5 hot storylines, which is a requirement for my product. Then 2, I can start a storyline with Jack Bruce, who only has 5 more appearances on his contract within this event and not be forced to basically use an appearance to start the storyline with him. We're going to go back to the booking screen, add it to the last segment. That way we can start that story. Now we go into the angle and we just want to ensure that we advance this storyline, and let's check it out. Wow, 89. I think that saves the show. I'm not kidding. I think that puts the show into the 80s. And how? Because honestly, 81 and 84 for each part, we had a hot crowd. Maybe that was what the extra sauce is on the rating, but getting an 89 for an angle, I mean, it doesn't save all of the angle ratings, but I think it pulls them into a place where that combined with 80 plus matches will give me a show rating, I think in the low 80s. So let's see what happens when we actually finish the show. Really, the only thing left to do is finish the show and see how it all went. 84, there it is. That's quite good. I'm happy with that, especially with the way things have been going. I think I need to book simpler angles and really making sure that there are stories attached to the matches and trying to get the bonus from hot stories. So it's really just planning things in advance so that the stories get advanced. But let's officially finish the show. Address the locker room right. So this is an event, so we're gonna address the locker room. Let me think about who I want to praise and encourage and all that good stuff. We can see that Spencer Spade already has been praised. Randy Unleashed was praised. Gilmore was praised or pointed out as a good example. So was ZWB. These are in our last event. Okay, so I'm going to tell Jack Bruce that he's awesome. I mean, his performance was as a referee, so I'm not gonna say like, you know, praise for a great performance, but his morale is a little bit low. I don't want to give him more money because he is just sucking money from me. But I mean, he did a good job in the main event and definitely like pulled things together with that last angle, I'm sure. I'm also going to point out Primus Allen as a good example. He worked hurt and the match was still pretty good. Both Jefferson Stardust and Adam Smasher are going to be praised for a great performance. They were the best workers ratings wise in my second best rated match of the night. So definitely want to point them out, especially because I think they are poised to be bigger stars going forward within the company. So let's go ahead and make the speech. Bruce is pleased, Allen pleased, Stardust pleased, Smasher pleased. So everyone's pleased. Financial report, did we make money? We did. That's good. Overall profit in the 5.5 million range. Yeah, I'm liking that. We're pretty strong with our overall finances. So beautiful. Let's look at the popularity recap, and that's what I'm talking about with Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Saskatchewan, and Sureste. They're tough places to get spillover popularity. I think I'm broadcasting there for these events, but it's just tougher to reach these areas, and that's what I'm seeing. But overall, I'm getting slight bumps in all of these areas. Still got my 78 in the United States. Again, I need to just have more consistently rated shows to go up and up and up and increase that popularity. The goal is to overtake USPW, right? All right, so looking good here. And now it's time for the Media Scrum. I like these, so I'm gonna do it. All right, so here we go with the Media Scrum. You seem to be struggling in the US market with your competitors, all seen as putting on better shows in the past few weeks. This is true. You're struggling because the competition is too strong for you. I wouldn't, before I look at the answers, no, I wouldn't say that. I think, yeah, I'm confident that we're gonna turn things around. I think I'm just gonna say that. All right, so good. How am I intending on using Sterling Whitlock? So, well, he's going to be a major part of a new stable. So I think the answer here is we've got huge plans and we expect to feature him heavily in the coming months. And we please Sterling Whitlock. So I do like that. He's a part of our future. Oh, and that was it. Okay, cool. Oh, wait, no. Damn, I just angered everybody. So now they're all going to be mad at my new hire. Oh no, the whole roster's mad at me. All right, so this question about the Awesomeness winning the titles and how long a reign is in the cards. I want to give a relatively neutral response here. I mean, it's possible we give them a big push, and the reality is we'll see how they do with the opportunity, but I'm going to go with this. They deserve the opportunity to get a run as champions because that's the truth. They do deserve it. Sammy Smoke, off his game. I mean, he's fine. I think I'm going to give the answer that I have faith that he'll become more consistent. All right, so Brandy Unleashed and Chrissy Angel, if you look at their personal relationship, they were dating and broke up. They're one of the locker room incident options if you're gonna meddle, right? I'm not gonna support either one fully, and I'm not gonna sit down and work with them on the issue, and I don't necessarily like a little tension. I'm just gonna use the top response. It's the most professional, and it's honestly how I would feel. I'm not gonna get involved. Oh, that's good. All right, Joey Morgan didn't appear at Nothing to Lose and has been public about his disappointment. Well, didn't have anything for him to do. I actually think I might use this last option. I just wanted to give him a little break. He remains an important part of SWF because he's actually going to get a push. I feel like I would want to express that in some way by answering this question. I mean, it wasn't just that I didn't have anything for him to do. I could have found something for him to do, but what I want him to do is part of a new thing, not an existing thing. So yeah, the last option is the best one, I think. And the scrum is complete. Very nice. All right, post show is complete, and we're going to move on from the evening phase. I think that will do it for this episode. We just finished our event, which was pretty strong, and now we only have one TV show a week to worry about. I think I'm just going to stick with that for a while, focus on getting highly rated shows, and kind of build up the company before I take it into any more crazy directions. But this was a good way to get us in that direction. I think that will do it for another long episode of Booking SWF. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll know when the next episode is released and every time it's on.